What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I decided to cave. I'm going to be covering the leaks for COD 2026, rumored to be Modern Warfare 4, as well as the whole situation surrounding whether or not these leaks are accurate. This is something I initially wasn't planning on covering, largely because I don't like covering leaks this early on, especially when we're talking about gameplay specifics, because there's still practically a year to go before the game launches, and over the years, I've been fortunate enough to see Call of Duty games fairly early on, like 6 to 8 months before they release, and they can change very drastically in just those small handful of months when it comes to many of the details like gameplay balancing, for instance. Now, in saying that, this did become a very big topic in the community. It really blew up, and I've been getting a ton of pressure to cover this, to the point where some people are even like attacking me because they think I'm avoiding covering this for some nefarious reason. So let's just talk about it. These leaks came last week from TheGhostOfHope, and essentially he says Modern Warfare 4's multiplayer in its current state is currently a complete copy of Modern Warfare 2, except for no perk charging system and less aim down sight and slide penalties. Then when asked about no ninja and no red dots, he said, nope, it's literally Modern Warfare 2 2.0, so there is no ninja perk and no red dots on the minimap for firing an unsuppressed gun. And he went on to say there's also a ton of visual recoil, like we saw in Modern Warfare 2. And he said, just like in my previous tweet, it's pretty much a complete copy outside of a few things. Now, like I said, that really blew up in the community, and a couple days later, Infinity Ward responded to this with a happy holidays, and more importantly, they said at the end, don't believe everything you read on the internet, see you in 2026. So basically, vaguely trying to discredit these leaks. And when it comes to my take on all of this, as I said at the beginning, so much can change between now and the launch of the game, or even between now and when we see our first glimpse at the game, our first like teasers, trailers, things like that. To the point where I just feel like this became so much bigger than it really needed to be. Like, I generally trust Ghost of Hope as a source for leaks. He's been very accurate about a lot of things in the past, and therefore I do believe that the leaks he provided are accurate right now, or within the past several months, or whenever it is. I don't know what version of the game his source is providing those leaks based on. I don't know how up to date it is, and even if it is up to date as of now, so much can change when it comes to things like visual recoil, for instance. That's something that could be adjusted at any point throughout the development. They could just be using placeholders for a lot of things right now. They often do early on in development. Like I said, I've seen Call of Duty games 6 to 8 months before they've released, and they end up being quite a bit different than when they actually release. And so I also tend to believe Infinity Ward's statement of saying, don't believe everything you read on the internet, because I'm sure the current state of their multiplayer build is not what we're actually going to be seeing next year, at least not fully. And if anything, I'd be much more surprised to see the current build of the game being really similar to the launch build of the game next year. That's just not how the development of a Call of Duty game works. There's obviously still a lot of time to go and a lot of work to be done to get that game together. And so, of course, a bunch of changes are going to be made from now until we actually see the game. Now, to be clear, if those leaks are true and end up being true all the way up until the release of the game, and the next Call of Duty game ends up being essentially a copy and paste of Modern Warfare 2, which I'm not convinced that it will be, then yeah, at that point, I'll be making videos, I'll be talking about it, I'll be sharing my criticism surrounding that, because there will be something real to provide criticism against. Like, I don't want to see tons of visual recoil. I want to see red dots on the minimap when firing unsuppressed guns. Although that one's not like a deal breaker for me, I do think it's better when that exists. I definitely want to see a ninja style perk. And on that note, I definitely don't want to see the style of dead silence we had as a field upgrade in Modern Warfare 2 that had quite a long animation attached to it and played an audible sound when activating it to announce that you're going into stealth mode right now to anybody in your area. There are a lot of things I didn't like about Modern Warfare 2. In fact, I think it's one of the weakest Call of Duty games gameplay-wise for multiplayer that we've had in quite some time. But at this stage, after seeing these leaks, I honestly think it's just kind of pointless. And one thing I find a bit frustrating about this, I mean, it's one thing to just express the fact that, like, hey, we don't want to see that, so if this is true, please don't let it stay true up until the release of the game. It's another thing entirely, though, to already make your mind up on the game and already start priming yourself to feel negatively toward that game without knowing anything about it at all officially and with still plenty of development time to go. And that's what I've been seeing a lot of, is just people piling on and already a very strong negative sentiment surrounding a game that we actually know nothing really about at this point, aside from it's being developed by Infinity Ward. And I think some of the bigger picture leaks, those are things we can take seriously because those aren't going to be changing drastically, like the setting of the game, for instance. Yeah, I think it's pretty much set in stone at this point that it is going to be the next Modern Warfare game, and it will be set in at least roughly modern times. I not only believe those leaks to be true, I also don't think they're going to massively pivot on that with 1 year left to go in development. But when it comes to the details of the gameplay, and especially the details that haven't changed from the previous game, I think in many cases it's just much more likely that they're still working on things, and they're obviously building off of the previous game that they had, and therefore I'm sure there's many areas where they have plans for them, but they just haven't gotten around to making those adjustments yet because they're working on other things. And I know, of course, bringing this up is going to trigger a lot of comments calling me a shill and everything, but I'm just trying to point out how things work based on what I've seen. And I've seen a lot of stuff with Call of Duty many months in advance. I've gotten a bit of an insight into how development works. And so I'm just trying to help bridge that gap here today. For a bit more balance here, I will also say I have not been a fan of Infinity Ward's past two Call of Duty games, at least when it comes to their multiplayer design philosophy. And because of that fact, yes, I will be going into this next Call of Duty game with a higher level of skepticism than I normally would, or than I would with a Sledgehammer or Treyarch Call of Duty game. I think that's totally reasonable because I'm basing it off of things that have actually happened and a certain philosophy that they have had and how that has not panned out very well, at least for me and many others like me. And as far as we know, retention was really, really bad in Modern Warfare 2, so clearly they were doing some things wrong there. So I do think they have a lot to prove to us. I am going to have my walls up a little bit. I am going to be going into things with that level of skepticism, but I also want to give them the chance to actually present what they are going to have to us before forming any strong opinions or fully making my mind up on the game. And that's really where I'm at with this topic, and it's the primary reason that I wasn't going to make this video. I really think this blew up way more than it really needed to be. It became such a big thing in the community, and I just don't see why outside of it gets attention gets clicks, and I'm sure this video is probably going to do fairly well because of that. So I get it, but at the same time, I just find it to be quite frustrating that people are making their minds up on things before even seeing what they have to present to us. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts on this whole situation, and I am curious to hear what you guys think about this in those comments down below. Like, first off, how would you feel about the next Infinity Ward game being very similar to Modern Warfare 2? And second, do you think it's actually going to be the case? Or are you like me, do you expect there's still plenty of development to go and many areas that just haven't been updated and adjusted yet from their baseline, which is the previous game? Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.